Hello from Tasmania. We are making this video because a number of our friends and family and even a few people on the internet have sort of asked how we're doing, especially because of the coronavirus and COVID and travel bans and flights being changed. So we're going to give you an update on how we're doing.
And just in case you stumbled upon us on the internet mysteriously, this is Shawn and I'm Lainey. We've been traveling for 9 months. We left New York City on June 3rd. And we started with 3 months in Europe, and we spent 6 months in Southeast Asia, 1 month in Sri Lanka before coming down here to Australia.
We've been on a year-long trip. That was our plan, was to leave New York City in June and travel for about a year and come back to the US in June. Everything was going really smoothly, obviously, until around New Year's when coronavirus poked its head up in China.
Yep.
We kept an eye on the situation, but we didn't have any plans to go to China. So while we were monitoring it and keeping an eye out, like any disease, if there's any kind of malaria or, this or that. But we kept traveling because we weren't affected. Then we spent about a month in Sri Lanka during all of February, basically. So we were off the grid with Wi-Fi and stuff. We weren't really checking in very often, but also Sri Lanka hasn't been largely affected. As of the making of this video, it's March 19th. So again, we sort of knew what was happening, but we weren't required to change any plans or update anything, or we have travel insurance. We'll get into all that later, but now it's March and now the COVID-19 is hitting, it's crushing Europe. It's really taken over Southeast Asia, and of course it's in the United States. So we're planning our next move.
So we felt really lucky that all these places that we've already visited are now really affected, and we were able to see them before borders have closed and flights have been canceled.
We've been really fortunate on this trip. We went to Spain before anything happened. We were traveling around Southeast Asia again in 2019 before anything happened. So we're seeing all these borders close and all these people have to cancel plans, and we're really lucky that we got to go have a huge portion of our trip before the wheels started falling off. We've been fine. Neither of us has been sick. No one we know has been sick. All the places we've stayed have been relatively free of the pandemic. We did go to Singapore, and we were nervous to go there, but my brother lives there and my nieces live there, so we wanted to visit family, and that was a few weeks ago. It's been interesting to see how Singapore has handled the problem compared to other places.
Yeah, and we were there exactly, it was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago.
4 weeks. So much has changed since then, and it was helpful to have a first-hand update from Shawn's brother before we actually arrived in Singapore. We were transiting there from Sri Lanka to Singapore to Melbourne, and without having first-hand knowledge of it's okay to visit, we might have tried to skip it. We're glad we still went to Singapore because life went on as normal. People were wearing masks. Some people weren't. There was hand sanitizer in lots of places. And we kept a really low profile while we were there and didn't visit any sites. And we just stayed at home and hung out with the family.
So Singapore was interesting. They were the first place outside of China that showed an outbreak, but they tamped down on it really hard. They were the first, everyone has to work from home. You get thermal scanned when you go into a building. We dropped off my nieces and we had to get thermal scanned just to drop them off. So they've done really well. They're starting to see a rise in cases, so nowhere is safe. But again, we're making this video to update you guys on what we're up to. So we're nervous about the next leg of our trip because the last 3 days have seen a lot of closures.
Yeah. So you're kind of wondering, why are we filming it from this weird space?
Oh yeah, we're in a van.
We're in a van, our camper van. Oh, it's all of our bedding up here.
That's our bunk bed.
This is our table and our bed. Welcome to our bedroom / living room. This is a budget camper. This is a very budget camper van. It's old. It's great.
It's fantastic.
We can live off the grid here in Tasmania, and we've been pretty remote and doing mostly hiking and sleeping in beaches where we're the only cars parked there. Our campgrounds where everyone is just in their own RVs.
So it's weird. It's weird to see. So we went to the grocery store today because we needed more pasta and some beans and stuff, and we can't hold that much in here, enough for about a week. And we went in, we're like, oh, it's not so bad. Oh, there it is. And we saw the aisles where the panic buying is starting to hit, even in Tasmania.
Yeah.
But we've been fortunate. I mean, van life is essentially self-quarantine. You interact a little bit you use public bathrooms sometimes, and you'll see people on a hike, but by and large, we're just hanging out with ourselves.
Yeah, we're cooking a lot of our own meals,
Cooking.
almost all of our own meals here in the van, and we're copiously using hand sanitizer and washing anytime we're in public spaces, but we're pretty...
As you can see, I haven't touched my face. I haven't touched my face in weeks. This is about safety, not laziness. So what we're basically updating everyone. We're actually we joke that this is maybe one of the best places to be. Tasmania has a really small population, a decent healthcare system, not a lot of tourists here.
And there's a lot of places to camp for free. And there's a lot of beautiful national parks and public spaces that have amenities that we can use to just stay away from people.
We've been floored by how well maintained and how, not luxurious, but how competent the free camping and all this stuff has been.
The public bathrooms are amazing. There's bars of soap sitting there.
It sounds so stupid that we're so excited. They're like the cleanest things. We're doing well in Tasmania. Our plans are to go to New Zealand and do basically the same thing there for the last 2 months of our trip.
We're supposed to fly there on March 26th.
In a week.
In 6 days, 5 days.
But things are changing so quickly that yesterday I would have said there's a 2% chance that we stay in Tasmania. Now it's like an 8% chance. And tomorrow it could be 50-50.
So if we make it to New Zealand, we are planning to self-quarantine ourselves. That's the mandatory law right now for anybody coming from overseas into New Zealand. So we would have 2 weeks of quarantine before getting our next camper van, which hopefully we would have for 2 months in New Zealand.
And we would still be kind of quarantining ourselves. We would still be like just hiking. And again, there'd be such a low impact from like lack of tourism that hopefully we would stay pretty remote.
Yeah.
So we're actually worried about a lot of you guys. Most of you are probably American watching this right now. We're seeing what's happening in New York. We're from New York. We're seeing what's happening in California, where a lot of our family is. And so it's not really the time for us to come home. We don't want to burden the healthcare system. We don't want to come from abroad, because there's a lot of nerves about that right now.
Yeah, as well as there's two big reasons why as well that we feel fortunate and that we can't really return is that when we lived in New York City and both of us work as freelancers, and I'm a dance teacher and my studio is not even open right now, so if I was still back home I wouldn't be able to work at all right now. And I feel really fortunate that we had saved for this trip and had planned our strict budget, so being out here and dealing with the coronavirus is not actually affecting my income very much, but it is affecting Shawn's.
Yeah, so I'm a freelance writer, but I'd say 90% of the work I do is travel writing, which is not happening right now. A lot of my clients who I've worked with for years have either closed their doors. A few, I think, are maybe going to go out of business, but many more are just saying, like, we're not accepting any stories for the next few months. We're not, doing this or that. They're trying to stay in business, and it's been really fast. So while the idea of going home sounds like a decent idea, for us it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, all travelers abroad should return home immediately, and then hunker down at home. But we don't have a home to hunker down in. Yeah. We sold all of our things in New York. We have a couple boxes in a storage unit, and that's it. We have nowhere to go. We could go stay with our families.
So we've got this, and this in a weird way is like, we've stumbled again. We've been very fortunate. We stumbled onto the perfect thing to be doing right now, which is driving a very comfortable camper van that's got off-grid capability. We have battery power. We've got, propane. We've got cooker and bed.
And if we really have issues getting into New Zealand, then we're probably just going to stay in Tasmania for a while.
Which is so crazy that we're going to be in Tasmania for this long.
We're both lucky our visas are okay for 2 more months, but we're really worried our flight back to the U.S. is through Auckland, and if things happen, we'll have to just take it day by day. Because honestly, we can plan a little bit, but we really can't plan ahead more than 1 day at this point.
We can't plan at all. So we have travel insurance, obviously. And travel insurance, we have the good kind that actually covers us. If either of us got sick or was forced to quarantine, our travel insurance would kick in to cover the expenses and the lost, whatever. But because it's a global pandemic, we're not just blanket protected. So if New Zealand closes its borders, we don't get reimbursed for our flight, and our flight home, we don't get reimbursed for that. Those are just gone. So we're trying not to book anything really until we know that it's going to happen. So yeah, again, this video is an update for us. We're doing very well. We've been oddly removed from the whole situation. Like I keep getting, texts and emails like, how are you? Are you okay? And I'm like, we're fine. We know what's going on because we're checking in, but we're kind of off the grid here. The cell service is patchy at best.
Yeah.
We're not checking it every day. And while I wish I could be working more, like she said, we've got savings. I'm actually kind of enjoying the break. And we're really hoping to just make sure that you guys know we're fine.
Yeah, we just really think that we can't make any long-term plans because we don't know what it's going to be like when we go back to the U.S. or even when that date would be to go back to the U.S. And we don't know what the state of our jobs are going to be like in 2 months and 2.5 months, 3 months from now. So it's hard to make long-term goals, and that's okay by us because we just have to remember we're really lucky to be here and to be healthy.
We recorded this earlier and there wasn't any audio. So this is our second time saying all this stuff, so pardon us if it doesn't sound super genuine. No, cut in some of our earlier stuff. Right here, we're still planning to come back to the U.S. in the summertime.
And then we'll see what our long-term goals are, because long-term goals don't exist right now.
That's it. Long-term goals, like, it sucks if a concert you wanted to go to is canceled. It sucks if your trip changes or it gets canceled completely. We personally know several people that were planning to travel, and they were asking us questions about how to do this or where to go, and they were really excited. And now they're not going. So it's okay to feel bummed about that, but that's not important right now. Like, taking care of people that are sick, taking care of yourself, and figuring out what to do as things change with the economy and the healthcare system are all that matters. So we're trying to do our best not to be a burden to any country and to look after our own situation.
Yeah.
So we love everyone. We're grateful that everyone is asking how we're doing. We're doing very well, and we hope that you guys are doing well and self-quarantining and doing everything you're supposed to be doing. And we will be back with updates when it makes sense to do so. Until then, we're going to be driving in our van. And it's going to be great.
When in doubt and you really need to get a hold of us, email is best. That's one of the things that we do check semi-regularly versus Facebook or Instagram because we're on data.
Bad data. We're on Tasmanian data.
Yeah, Tasmania data. So
Tasmania? That's nothing.
Tasdadia?
That's not bad. That's better.
Tasdadia.
Mania. They're all bad. So thanks for watching, guys. And we will... I'm going to link, I wrote a story about what it's like to be a tourist, traveling during the coronavirus. And I think I wrote it like 5 days ago, and it already feels 100 years old. Yeah. But it's more about our experience about it. Yeah. And, take a look there, and that has more information about what we've been up to. Okay.
Okay. In the meantime, stay safe, and we will stay safe as well with all of our hand sanitizers and van life quarantines. So this is an update to our video, which we filmed yesterday, and now it is on the 20th. Hopefully get this uploaded today. And New Zealand has closed its borders. Woo! So we are no longer going to New Zealand at the moment. We are hoping to stay in Tasmania for another week or 2, 3. We're not sure. We'll either reassess then to see if New Zealand opens its borders, or we'll go to mainland Australia.
We got a flight voucher, which is awesome, of Air New Zealand. Shout out to Air New Zealand for actually caring. Mm-hmm. They gave us a flight voucher for the full value of our flight.
A little more roadkill.
Roadkill, no. So we are... I just ran over a dead wallaby, so I'm like all over it sucks. We are planning to stay in Launceston probably for another week.
Smaller town than Hobart.
Tiny little town. Yeah. We'll see how we go. All of our friends in Melbourne are telling us, like, don't come back. There's really no reason. So we're in, like, one of the best places to be. We're going to stay put and see when New Zealand opens their borders if we can use our flight voucher and get over to New Zealand. So,
right.
One day later, and plans are completely different.
Goodbye.